Good evening. We're finally back. In a yeshiva, they call it Zman Choref. Zman Choref is winter time. That's the long and most serious time of learning after the period of time of the festivals where people are learning less, and before that the summer where you have lots of distractions and you go elsewhere. Now we can go back to our learning. Please God, we'll have the koach and the motivation to give more and more shiurim. You give me the koach. It's nice that you enjoy them. Rav Kook, of 100 years ago, he wrote many books. He wrote lots of things. He was a poet. He wrote lots of things in a very beautiful way. I don't know how good your Hebrew is, but in one of his books, Meged Yerachim, he wrote the sentence describing the month of Cheshvan. As you know, we just finished the month of Tishrei, and we're entering the month of Cheshvan. More or less every year at the same time of the Parsha of Noach, just before the Parsha of Noach, we also mark the beginning of the month of Cheshvan, which is the opposite of the month of Tishrei. Month of Cheshvan, we call it Mar Cheshvan. So you can look at Mar from two different angles, whether Mar is bitter Cheshvan, or you can say Mar in terms of Mr. Cheshvan. So is it bitter because it doesn't have any festival? It's like a dull, it's a boring kind of a month, or because you want to give it extra importance, and that's Mr. Cheshvan. Rav Kook, when he came to describe that month, he said the sentence, "Kshehaneshama me'ira, gam shamayim otei arafel mefikim or na'im." Maybe some of you know it as a song, very famous, beautiful song. Kshehaneshama me'ira, when the soul is lit, when our soul is, I would say, positive and motivated and happy, then even the sky that is totally black, it's filled with fog and clouds, and it looks, brings your mood down. When your soul is up, then even a sky like that brings beautiful light. That's what the Rav Kook described the month of Cheshvan, which is so appropriate because the month of Cheshvan is the month of the beginning of winter in Israel. We start asking for rain. In a week time, we're going to start asking for rain. Already on Simchat Torah, we start mentioning the rain. We prepare ourselves. In Israel, we get rain only in winter, and the rain is going to come. Already we felt it on Sukkot for a day, but it's coming up much bigger, and it's going to be colder. And you sometimes feel, whoa, such bad weather, and it affects your mood in general. Rav Kook reminds us that even when the leaves fall down from the trees, and when the sky becomes more gray, and you may fall into sadness and pessimism, that's our inclination to see the bad in those times. The Judaism teaches us that no, it's all coming from within. And if you have the right connection to reality, if your soul is positive because of connecting to the Torah and connecting to God, to Hashem, then it's all going to look nice. It's going to look beautiful because you're in a beautiful mood, and that's what it's about. And I think that's a nice introduction to our lessons as we're about to hopefully go back to learn after 2 months break. We can go back to learning, and the learning is going to be the light, and it's going to show us through this long winter and sometimes dark winter, and we sometimes walk in a fog, not only in terms of the weather, but also in terms of other things, this corona virus, where is it going and what's happening, and we don't know what to do. For that, the Torah has got an answer. The rabbis teach us, Hachash berosho ya'asok b'Torah. When someone has got a headache, go and learn Torah. When you learn Torah, the headache is behind you, finished. And I can testify to that myself. I made the mistake. I know I'm recorded, but I'm going to say it now because I feel betrayed. I made the mistake 2 days ago to take the vaccine. I took the shot for the coronavirus, my first shot. I didn't need to until now because I had the virus itself. I was sick with corona, and now I got the shot in order to get the Tav Yarok. I got the shot, and I regret doing so because it was like the corona all over again. That's how it was. For 2 days I was sick, like with corona, and I don't know if it's everybody feel the same way. If you had corona and the vaccine as well, if that's what everybody testify, or it's only me, but that's how I felt. I felt as if it's such a mistake because I'm strong. My body's got the whatever it needs, and now I'm forcing it to fight something else which I don't really need to. But anyway, I'm following the law, and so I got the vaccine. What can I do? I hope they're not making a mistake by forcing me to do so, and only time will tell, and I hope it's going to be all right. So what do I do in times of, I've been walking with lightheaded for 2 days. So you learn Torah, and with the Torah, you forget the headache, and you forget all your bad things, and you delve and you dive into this, and you enjoy it. And that's how I feel now. Giving this shiur is nice for me as well, not just for you. And let's go into that. So I thought of talking today about, it's the Parsha of Noach coming up, and Parsha of Noach, it's relevant to talk about the laws learned from the portion of Noach. While every other Parsha, almost every other portion in the Torah, teaches us laws for the Jews only, the portion of Noach talks about a reality where there were no Jewish people yet. We're talking about just after Adam and Eve, 10 generations later, there is Noach, and there were no Jews, and yet there are commandments, and they are called the 7 Noahide laws, the 7 laws of Noach that are laws for the entire humanity, not just for the Jewish people, but for everybody. Every human being must keep those 7 Noahide laws, and you may be surprised to hear that 6 out of those 7 were actually given to Adam and Eve already. Only the 7th were given to Noach, and we'll see in a second which one it was. The rabbis in the Midrash show us exactly how we learn those 7 Noahide laws from the verses, from the psukim of the Torah. And the Talmud, the Gemara already specified them more explicitly, and the Rambam after that, and all the rabbis, and it's very, very important. I think I mentioned it to you in one of our lessons, but I'll say it again because it's very important. I'm sure most of you, or all of you, have relatives that are not Jewish. That's fine. In Judaism, as opposed to other religions, we don't look for more people. We don't think everybody should be a Jew. In Judaism, we believe that if you were born a Jew, then you must be a good Jew. If you feel like a Jew and you want to convert into Judaism, then fine, we'll open our arms, we'll admire you, and wow, welcome. We'll take you, and we are proud of you that you're with us. But if you don't want to be Jewish, we're not upset. It's okay not to be Jewish. If you were not born a Jew, then you don't have to be Jewish. As long as you keep the 7 Noahide laws, which we're going to specify in a minute, you are a good person. You don't need to keep the 613 laws of the Jews. Only Jewish people must. So there is an unfair situation that if we'll talk in a childish way of talking, then we will talk about this big tzaddik, this big righteous person, that he was a Jew and he was so careful to keep all the laws, and he managed to keep them all, and he would get a share in the world to come, in the best place, in a Garden of Eden, whatever you want to call it. And the non-Jew didn't have to work so hard, just didn't steal, didn't kill. You're not a murderer. You get a seat next to that big rabbi. That's how easy it is for a non-Jew to join the Jewish person at that very special place. So yes, please try and I'm going to say it again in 15 minutes, but please tell all your relatives and friends who are not Jewish, which are, I'm going to specify them now, which are the 7 Noahide laws, and make sure they do them because God said so, and they will get a share in the world to come, next to the biggest righteous person, which is you, because you chose to convert and you do it seriously and you keep all the laws, so you're going to be sharing a seat next to them. Why did I say that those non-Jews, the Gentiles, must keep those laws because God said so? Because often you find that at least some, if not all, some of those Noahide laws make sense. They're logical. If someone tell you you should set a court of law, and there should be justice, and no one should kill, and no one should steal, and no one should mess with a neighbor in terms of sexual relationship. That's obvious. We all believe in a better society, so you don't need God to tell us this. That's what the Torah comes to emphasize. Those Gentiles, the non-Jews, must do them because God said so, not because they find them, those laws, logical. That's not good enough. And it's very important to emphasize that, because one person, or once a person finds something logical, the following day, it's not logical anymore. So he's going to say, it's a joke, I'm not going to keep this. That's not why we do things. We, Jews and non-Jews, do what we have to do just because we believe in God. Just because we know God created the world and He knows what's best for us, and He told us to do X, Y, and Z, and that's it. Not because we think and we use our logic. Who cares what we think? Our logic changes with the wind. Our logic changes with media that forces all kind of new logic on us, new ideas that come from all kind of wrong angles. So we do them because God said so. And that's something important to emphasize in the beginning, that we have to keep the laws because God said so. And those people, those Gentiles who do that, they are called righteous Gentile. That's an expression. I don't know if you know, in Israel, when you say the word righteous Gentile, automatically Israelis think of those amazing people who risked themselves and saved Jews during the years of the Holocaust. That's what we call Chasidei Umot HaOlam, righteous Gentiles, amazing people. This expression, righteous Gentile, comes from the Jewish law. And the Jewish law gives that title, a righteous Gentile, who will get a share in the world to come, to those who keep the 7 Noahide laws. And so they are very important, and they must be kept by all humanity, and Jews and non-Jews. In fact, the 3 most important mitzvot, commandments, that Jews have are also the three most important mitzvot that non-Jews have. What do I call the three most important? You know, if someone tell you there is a sick person, you have to take them to the hospital, quick. It's a matter of life and death. So you're not going to tell them, I'm sorry, it's Shabbat today, I don't drive on Shabbat. We have learned already that saving lives is more important than Shabbat. Shabbat is less important. Shabbat is very important. Kashrut is very important. But if you need to save someone's life by giving them something non-kosher to eat, then so be it. We have to save lives. Life is above all. But you may be surprised to hear that three things are more important than life for Jews and for non-Jews. It says that you must die and not do. What are they? The first and easiest to understand is obviously murder. If someone tell you, kill that person or we kill you, you rather die than kill another person. Makes sense? Who says your blood is redder than the other person's blood? And so if you were forced to kill another person, you rather die than kill someone else. That's easy. But what about marital relationship with the wrong people? The Torah teaches us that if someone tell you, go and have marital relationship, have sex with that married woman, then you must die and not do. If someone forced you to have this relationship within the family, a brother and a sister, a father and a daughter, someone forces them and say, we're going to kill you if you don't do, you rather die than do. Make sense? Maybe. But what about number three? If someone tells you, bow down to that idol that we believe is God, then you rather die than worship other idols. These are the three mitzvot or three averot, right? The three things that we mustn't do and rather die than do. Not only us, non-Jews as well. The other four, interesting, easy to remember them, right? We're talking about seven. I just specified three. I'm going to specify them again, but just let me give you a general overlook of them before you fall asleep. The other four are in alphabetical order, so it makes it easier for us to remember them. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. Aleph is Ever Min HaChai. Ever Min HaChai. Aleph, we are not allowed to eat a limb of a living animal. You have to kill that animal first, make sure it doesn't suffer anymore, and only then eat them. Bet, Birkat Hashem. Birkat Hashem means we are not allowed to curse God. We are not allowed to treat God in disrespect. Gimel is Gezel. Gezel is stealing. We are not allowed to steal from anyone. Daled, Dinim. We shouldn't have anarchy. We should set a court of laws, and that's how we're gonna have a proper society with police and courts and everything like that. Let's go deeper into those 7 Noahide laws and specify them one by one. The first one that I chose to speak about is not to worship idols, or in Hebrew, avodah zarah. Jews and non-Jews alike are not allowed to worship any other idols. And that applies to praying to other powers, or giving sacrifices, or bowing down in front of them, or giving any way of acceptance of that idol worshiping that we accept that, not allowed. There is an argument between the rabbis. I'm going to say it in brackets, but I don't know how much to go into it now because I don't have time. But there's a very interesting argument between the rabbis regarding Christianity. Some of you came from Christianity, so I can say 2 words about that. If a Jew accepts Christianity, then it's very wrong. But if a non-Jew goes by Christianity, then there is an argument between the rabbis whether that is considered to be idol worshipping or not. This is a very ancient argument, and the rabbis of today also will add another element to the argument of maybe depends on which denomination within Christianity you go for, because some are worse than others. Some would really bow down and believe in all those holy people and bow down to all kind of statues or crosses or whatever, but others won't. So is it allowed or not allowed to believe in Jesus? Again, not to a Jew. So I'm talking about non-Jews. I can tell you, I went with my students today and yesterday for their final Beit Din. You know, they went in front of the rabbis, the Dayanim, and one of those people, I don't know how the conversation got to it, but the Dayan, the rabbi, asked him, and he came to the conclusion, and the guy didn't hide it, that his mother, the mother of that person, is Christian. So the rabbi told him, and what about you? He said, no, I chose to be a Jew, and I don't like Christianity, and I don't believe in it, and I chose to be a Jew. So the rabbi asked him, and what if your son, in whatever is going to be born, whenever he's going to be, he would choose to be a Christian, what would you say then? So the guy straight away answered very wrongly. He said to him, let him choose what he wants. It's up to him. He can do what he wants. So the rabbi got very upset. And the guy couldn't understand, why are you upset? And I explained to him, and I told him afterward, he didn't pass, but he didn't understand the depth of it. I told him that in the rabbi's eyes, are you allowing your child to take a nail and put it into the electricity? Obviously, you're going to stop him. So why don't you say the same with regards to other religions? If you believe Judaism is the right and the only thing, and anything else is a lie, how can you just say, no, let them do what they want? How can you let them fall? How can you let them make mistakes? That's what the rabbis wanted to hear, and the guy didn't have it. I felt sorry for him because it's very difficult. It's very difficult for people to say, my mother is wrong. She's making a mistake, and it's very difficult. How can you get out of someone such a sentence? I felt sorry for him. But what can you do? If you chose to be a Jew, then it means you choose to say other people are wrong, even if they are the closest people to me. So that's what the rabbis were trying to but that's not our topic. That with regards to Jewish people. If you want to be a Jew, then Christianity is 100% out. But if you don't want to be a Jew and you are not Jewish, whether you can keep on believing in God alongside with believing in some Christians' ideas, maybe it's not so bad. I'm leaving it with a question mark. According to the Rambam, Maimonides, it's very wrong. But other rabbis say differently. Leave it open as that. The first out of the 7 Noahide laws talks about idol worshipping. We should not worship any idols. The second one talks about do not curse your creator. We are not allowed to curse God. We are not allowed to say any words of disrespect to God. We mentioned it a few minutes ago, and that's obvious. And that's why I said it must come from, not because you're a nice person and you believe not to curse anyone, but because you believe that God is different to everything else, and God is something that you should look at with respect, so much so that we don't say his name even. That's how certain names. I told you that God has got 70 names, so some of those names are lesser in holiness, so you can say them when you pray or when you say a blessing, okay, but some names are even holier than that we don't pronounce them ever. Number 3, do not commit murder. That I think we don't need to say much about, except I'm going to tell you some news that the rabbis added. You know, some rabbis said that the 7 Noahide laws are actually 30 laws, because so many derivatives they have and things come out of them that actually much more than 7. And so some rabbis said that, for example, euthanasia is sometimes murder. And be careful, I'm going to say it very briefly, but try to say very precisely. In Judaism, we differ. There are 2 kinds of euthanasias. There is the euthanasia that you do actively. If someone put a shot of poison into the person, you know, like I felt with a shot I got for the corona. If someone gives you a shot of poison, that's not allowed. If someone unplug the life support machine and would that cause the person to die, that's not allowed. That's active euthanasia. Sometimes we will allow passive euthanasia. And passive euthanasia is, for example, someone tells you, you know, I'm so old, I'm so sick, I'm suffering so much. Please, if I go into that situation, don't put me on the life support machine. Don't connect me to that. That's passive. You sit back and let them move on to the next world. The rabbis will allow it sometimes, but active euthanasia may fall into the category of murder. More than that, some ladies here would be upset with me, but abortion may fall into that category as well. In Judaism, up to 40 days since the pregnancy started, this very small thing is part of the mother, and she's got more of a say. But from 40 days and onwards into the pregnancy, you need a very, very good reason to kill that fetus or baby, however you want to call it. This is not something that you can do lightly and easily. There must be a very good reason. And if that's not enough for you, I can tell you that the rabbis compared insulting or embarrassing someone also to murder. Rabbi said that if you embarrass someone in front of other people and he becomes red, then the blood goes out of his face and it becomes white, and that's something like a dead person. He is now white, and you killed him. Be careful. So it's not just about not to put a knife or a bullet into someone's head, but it's about not to embarrass anyone. And that's something very difficult. It says in the Torah, we just read last week's parsha, Ki b'tselem Elohim asa et Adam. We were created in the image of God, and we have to look after this image of God, me and you, all of us. Number 4. Number 4 is do not commit a sexual immorality. And into that category falls relationship within the family. You're not allowed to even be with your father's wife, who is not your mother. He remarried and he died. You're not allowed to be with your father's wife. You're not allowed to be with someone else's wife who's still married. We're not allowed to be with animals, obviously. And we're not allowed to be, according to the Torah, homosexuality and lesbians. This is something totally not allowed for Jews and non-Jews. All those relationships, if something is born from those relationships of, let's say, a father and a daughter, or a married woman who goes with someone who's not a husband, then what's born from that is called in the halacha mamzer. They translate it as bastard, but you have to be careful with the translation because mamzer is a very Jewish halachic word. We don't just use it for anything. It's only in a very specific situation. Even if nothing was born, the actual act is already called immorality, and it's gilui arayot. By the way, the word in Hebrew, arayot, is not with the aleph, aryeh, a lion. Arayot is with the ayn. Arayot from the word erva. Erva. Erva is the most hidden place in a human's body that we all cover, men and women, and that's the place that should be covered and should be uncovered on its very specific situations. That's number 4. Number 5 says, do not steal. And do not steal, again, is not just go and to someone's house at night and take something from them. It's much more than that. If you are the employer and you have an employee that is working for you, don't tell them, yes, I'll pay you one day for the work you've done. That's also a form of stealing if you don't pay them on time that you were supposed to. Do not steal anything from anyone. Obviously not someone's child or wife or property or anything. That's how important it is. Number 6 is do not eat flesh torn from a living animal. This is the one that I mentioned to you 15 minutes ago that could not exist to Adam and Eve. Why? Because only since the time of Noach, we had the permission, human race, we had the permission to eat meat. Adam and Eve were totally vegetarians. They were not allowed to eat animals. Only after the flood, which we're going to read about in this week's Parsha, only after the flood, God told Noach, you know what? You can eat animals, but you must be careful. And you must do it in a certain way that the animal is not tortured. The animal doesn't suffer. I can say in brackets that if you're a Jew, then there are many more aspects to it. And you have to keep kosher, and you have to not to eat it with milk, and you have to say a blessing. There are many other laws to the eating, but to non-Jews, it's only about not eating them when they're still alive, so they might suffer. Number 7, as we mentioned, is the commandment to establish courts of justice. We have to remember that it's interesting, there's an argument between the Rambam, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, and the Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman. There's an argument more than 800 years ago, whether this last 7th and last law apply to all the laws or just the last 6. Whether you have to have the court making sure you keep those 6 that we just mentioned, or they must keep all the laws regarding having a proper society that everything would work. It's interesting, a rabbi called Rav Uri Sherki, he noted that those 7 Noahide laws touches all aspects of life, meaning the first 2, not to do idol worshipping and not to curse God, is what we call in the category of man to God relationship. The next 2, do not murder and do not steal, that would be in a category of man to man relationship. So it's covering all aspects. And the next 2, not to eat not to eat a limb of a living animal, and also not to have wrong relationships. That's gonna do with morality. That's gonna do with you and yourself. You want to have a better society. And the last one, number 7, is to have courts and to establish justice. That's in order to keep all those laws working, and everything could be okay. I want to end off. I only have 3 more minutes. I want to end off with what I started with, saying that it was already Rabbi Milubavitch, Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the 7th rabbi of Chabad, who said dozens of years ago that we should make it our goal to spread the word to all Gentiles that they must keep the 7 Noahide laws. He was powerful, and he managed to get it as a declaration in the United States Court of Law. That's what I heard. I didn't see it there, but that's what I was told, that he managed to get the 7 Noahide laws as part of a very basic moral, social law that should be there in a book of laws of United States. Other rabbis as well, not just Chabad, other rabbis as well tried to spread the word. In Chabad, it's beautiful. They established an internet site. You can find it later. It's called 7 for 70. Now, you love the word and the number 7. You know, the Rebbe's house number was 770. And 7 for 70 means 7 Noahide laws for the 70 nations. So it's in plain on words, which I'm sure they love. And it means that we have to spread the word. And they did, in many languages and in many pamphlets to everybody. A rabbi I mentioned who's very big in those areas as well is Rav Uri Shelki. He is originally from France, but he made Aliyah years ago, and he's teaching in Jerusalem. And he also established an organization called Brit Olam, and he also spread that word. And I urge you to tell all your friends and relatives who are not Jewish to try and keep those 7 Noahide laws. They're all there on the internet, very straightforward, very easy to understand them, and we can have a world to be a better place to live in if the whole society will go by those laws. And I think it should be nice, and it's going to create a lot more love and friendship, and everything would be a better place if we keep those 7 Noahide laws, all the non-Jews, along with the Jewish people, keeping their 613. That's a lesson for today. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.